everybody. Welcome on board. I'm Vas. My full name is Vasanth Gopalan. I come from Singapore and I have been in the business of training for the last 16 years, specifically teaching NLP and other mind sciences. Before that, there was about 30 years of experience in the Singapore Armed Forces, training people from young to officers. And in this video, we're going to capture the essentials or essence of NLP to assist you, those who are curious about NLP, and even those who may have known something about NLP, for you to have some fundamental knowledge on what NLP is. And this set of videos, there's going to be a whole series. It's not only to give you the knowledge, but also I will attempt to inspire you to live life with a meaning and to be excited about every moment of your life. And how do you use this video or DVD? You will notice that there are subtitles and there will be messages, lessons. I'll be utilizing the flip chart here, telling you stories, facts, and a whole multi-sensory presentation for you to enjoy what we call NLP. And please, do not watch this. Some of you have got video features in your car. Do not watch this while you're in your car. This is something that you could listen to or watch while you are more stable and not doing anything else that could endanger yourself and others. So it's going to be very inspiring, very knowledgeable. It's going to be a few hours of material, and I hope I can be available to you anytime after this or during this process for you to enjoy what NLP is and how it can impact you and people around you. Stay tuned. Thank you. Welcome back. Before we understand what NLP is, I think all of you who may be watching this understand the need to develop ourselves. You may read books, watch other videos, go to the YouTube, and inspire yourself. Personal development is something that is not regarded as necessary in mainstream education. But the reason why, although we may have been well educated, have our certificates, diplomas, degrees, PhDs, and so forth, we are still plagued with many things that we are not aware of in our lives. Our emotions, the way we react to situations, especially when you react to it negatively. Why is that happening? Why aren't we in control of ourselves? Why can't we be at our best all the time, like an Olympian in the finals, all the time trying to find that peak state for them to perform at their best all the time? 4 years of training go down the drain with one moment of lapse in concentration. Now, the rest of us who are living normal lives, as we would say, we don't think we need to be that fine-tuned every moment of our lives. Now, I suggest there's another way of thinking about that. You see, in this body of ours, it's made up of memories. Yes, there's the hardware, and it's made up of memories that came from our past. I will just illustrate that on this chart. If you notice, everything is on a timeline, isn't it? The past to the future. And there's always what we call now. That's the future. And this back here is what we call the past. And when we discuss the past, it's not just when we are born, but there's something happening even before we are born. And that, we need to be mindful of that because it impacts who we are when we're born. This is when we are in our mothers. But there's something even beyond that. Some of us believe in past lives. I think we put that aside. And others realize that our genetics, our genealogy, has an impact on us too. And that, I would illustrate it as an arrow before you go into your mother, and this is your father, and even before that. So all of these have an impact on us today. And we are made up of memories, aren't we? Good memories. I will illustrate it with the green lines that you see. There may be some good memories that you have working back from the time you're born until now. And there may be some good memories, experiences while you were in your mother, and even before that, your father's good memories. In the same way, we also may have some bad memories. We call it memories or experiences, but they are all there, aren't they? They are all there as memories, and these memories are giving us resources in our nervous system today. If you have powerful memories from the past, you would have powerful resources in you. You would naturally be a confident person in the way you communicate, the way you deal with human beings, in the way you deal with nature, like height, water, and so forth. So good and bad memories that reside in every nerve of our body, not just in the brain, always avails resources, emotions, confidence, our ability to communicate or not communicate, for us to deal with human beings and also nature. Some of us are born with fear for water or height or darkness, while others may not be. So these are things that I call resources. Coming from every experience is an appropriate resource. Good experiences give us good resource. Bad experiences give us bad resource. And so a person may be underprivileged. That means you're born in this world already packed with bad resources that came, unfortunately, from your father and mother, or even before that. And in the same vein, there may be people born with good resources. They are all gifted from the very beginning. And so this is a situation that we all have. These memories giving us resources, positioning us from the very beginning as underprivileged or gifted. And you know, in this world, we have maybe 1%, 2%, at most 10% of people who are gifted, privileged. And while the rest of us may come into this world underprivileged. And from the get-go, from the very beginning, we are sidelined, pushed aside by society, because we are judged on our performance, aren't we? Our exam results, you know, the failures that we have in our lives, our success. We're judged from the very beginning. And that judgment is like labels on our head. You are smart, you're stupid, you are gifted, you're not gifted, you're clever, not clever. And so, and then there is streaming early in life. Streaming. The good kids go to the good classes, the not so good kids go to the not so good classes. And then we lose our self-esteem. We say we belong to this group of people. We are like this group of people. And then the others are, we are like this elites. So this happens in life. I grew up like that in this area where I wasn't an elite. I started out as an elite, but somehow something happened and I drifted. And I wasn't very happy with myself. Why? Because it was so uncomfortable being in the presence of people who were gifted. There were those who were endowed with something that came from their positive experiences in the past. So, 80%, maybe more, 90%, 95% of human beings on this planet, when you become aware that you have been on a raw deal, that means, you came into this world underprivileged. We need to do something about that. Because you know why? I believe there's only one life. It doesn't matter what you believe. To me, this is the life. Now is the time. I got to make it happen. Now the question is, how? Because we've got this disparity. And we're judged based on this disparity. So what do we do? Okay, so if you're aware, you would pick up a book. If you're lucky, there will be a guide, a person who has done personal development, have also from where they were, made it in life in one lifetime, and they would say, hey, look, I did it. You can do that too. You don't have to be gifted. You can do that too. So we need somebody to inspire us, to make us believe that there's a process that we could use to get ourselves there. But most of us do not have such people in our environment. We grow with people just like us. And so there's nobody else to inspire us. Very seldom do we find somebody in our presence who would say, let me give you a hand. You can do this. So if you are one of those people, the 80, 90%, what would you do? Would you like to know more? So I think it is time. This world has realized, people have realized, more of us are becoming more and more aware that, okay, it's not how we start life, it's how we live life. Would you agree with that? It's not how we start life, it's how we live life. And it's not even how we end our lives. No, that's not what we are doing here. We want to get sorted out as early as possible in our lives and live it in our own terms. Now, that is what you and I are looking for, aren't we? So that's why we read books. That's why we go and attend programs. That's why we inspire ourselves with videos like this. And that's why we want to speak to a successful person, because you want to know how they did it. So if that's the page you are on, we are on the same page. I'm sure there are millions and billions of people on the same page. And fortunately, in the early 1970s, we have two guys who came on board and decided, now we need to study success. Not from those who were born successful, because you got nothing to learn from them. We studied those who were born underprivileged, made it in one lifetime, and that's how we realized that all of us can be successful, and the birth of NLP was existent in this world. I'll speak to you about NLP in the next video. See you again. In this video, I'm going to talk about what is NLP. So far, we've discussed why NLP for 95% human beings. By the way, even if you're successful, if I ask you a question, would you want to be more successful? Or could you have done better? If the answers to those two questions are yes, then NLP would help you too. So it's not only for those underprivileged to become privileged, but it's for those who are already doing well in life to do even better. Because I don't think you could do better enough. Okay, so now moving on. We have two guys, and I'll show it to you in the next slide. Their names are Richard Bandler and John Grinder. Bandler was a mathematician, and Grinder was a linguist. They were both lecturing in the University of California, Santa Cruz. And they were intrigued by how the number ones on the planet, the most known people on the planet, the best in the planet, became the best. So let me illustrate that. If you look at the 7 billion people we have on this planet, and if you would portray them on a geometric sign, it happens to be a triangle because life's not fair. There's an apex, the best are here, and then there's the bottom. So out of 7 billion people, you might find only 1% of human beings at the apex doing so well. So they wanted to know how these people made it so well in one lifetime. And I mentioned in the previous video, it's not about studying those who are born successful. It is those who started life there, at the bottom of the food chain. And then within one lifetime, they found their way up. And these are the kind of people that we study. And when we study such people, we realize that there is a process. Because, you know, without a process, we can't embrace it and become successful. So when they studied them, there was a step-by-step process for us to be successful. Now the thing is this, if you ask these people, how did you do it? They will say, I don't know. Because they were doing it with an unconscious competence. And so unless you are in the business of training other people or teaching it to somebody else, you would not know your own magical processes. And so Richard Bandler and John Grinder, in the quest of wanting to know how they made it, they designed a tool, and that is modeling. NLP was founded on this tool, modeling, to model excellence. It was founded on this. And so when they found people and modeled them, and I think the first 3 people that they modeled was Milton Erickson, Virginia Satir, and Fritz Perls. They were all psychotherapists. And it's a good place to start, isn't it? Psychotherapists who do healing without medicine. When doctors use medicine and give up on the patients, they would go to psychotherapists and get healed without medicine. And that's intriguing. And how do they do it? If it's not medicine, then it must be some form of magical communication. So communication was what it was. How these guys, these psychotherapists, healed people. And so in the same way, they modeled all the best in the world, the Einsteins, the Picassos, the Tiger Woods, the Michael Jordans, and even leaders, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and so on. So when you model them, these people, those who are passed on and those who are alive, in fact, we have more material on those who have passed on than those who are alive. So if you're wondering how did we model those people who have passed on, it's easier to model them because there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of data, a lot of repository of data available everywhere. And so when we model them, we realize that these people made decisions in a unique way. Decisions. And it's because of the way they made decisions that got them up on the food chain as number ones on the planet, and the names I mentioned earlier. So the decision-making process is what we studied. And part of the decision-making process, you have 3 components. Let me take the first one. And that is what we call neuro. Neuro. What is neuro? It's our nervous system. What constitutes the nervous system? Our brain, our spine, our nerves. And now this is like the hardware of a computer. isn't it? The nervous system. The nervous system is not just by itself. From the get-go, from the very beginning, from even before you were conceived in your mother, this nervous system already has information. What information? This one. All this information, especially this part here, even before you're born, this part here is already inside you. And you come into this world with this already there. And the good and bad experiences already inside you. So this goes on. You collect more life experiences as you grow. And today, if you're 40 years old, 50 years old, 12 years old, 10 years old, you have a whole bunch of good and bad experiences that are memories inside us. And it gets distributed to parts of our body through our nervous system. And this is the nervous system. Now, so what's the function of the nervous system? Communication. Our nervous system is a communication system that communicates information from one part of the body to another part of the body. Okay, you may ask, so where do I get information from? Information is always from the outside. So, where do we get the information from the outside from? Our 5 senses. So in NLP, we have our 5 senses. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. See, hear, feel, smell, and taste. So you take in information through our senses. Let's say you take 10 bits of information, 10 pieces of information, and it goes through your senses. And as it goes into your body through your senses, you need to make a decision. But it gets filtered by all your experiences. And by the time you make a decision, 10 bits of information may be reduced to 5 plus minus. Maybe more, maybe less. Does that make sense? Because without the filters, just imagine, without the filters, 10 will remain 10. But because of the filters, you delete, distort, generalize some of the information that comes through your experiences. And then your decision would be affected by your nervous system, because all this resides in your nervous system. Would you agree? That's right. And so some of the words that describe this thing that is going on, we have words like values. Our values are affected by this whole process. Our beliefs, our attitudes, character, and so forth, even cultures, are affected by this whole information flow system. And the next thing I would like to discuss is linguistics. What is linguistics? Language. Language. So in the decision-making process, we communicate, don't we? Right. You think about it, you make your decisions on the inside, and then you communicate it. Now, when it comes to linguistics, we as human beings, we struggle through school with the 7% of communication, which is verbal communication. We study only verbal communication in mainstream education, and that could give us a nightmare. But if there's only 7% that we are studying in school, what happened to the 93%? It's untouched in mainstream education. 93% of communication is non-verbal, made up of tonality and body language. Nobody studies that in mainstream education unless you invest in something else. So, but the thing is this, okay, in NLP, after modeling all these people, the linguistic aspects, okay, you might realize that you're going to be learning a whole bunch of non-verbal communication. But the thing is, even with verbal communication, mainstream education does not touch on the psychology of communication. What do I mean by that? The meaning behind what people are saying. And I will touch on this in detail in a couple of videos downstream. But for now, I want you to understand the meaning of the communication It's not taught in mainstream education. It is syntax, it's grammar. So that you speak in this way, I understand. If you write it in this way, that we all are on the same page. That's it. But the meaning may not be construed the way the communicator wants it to be construed. So that is the problem with linguistics. And one more thing. You see, you and I, who is that one person that you communicate with most? That's right, not your mother, yourself. So when we are communicating with ourselves, and we communicate positively and negatively, sometimes you say, I'm good. Somebody say, oh my God, it's a tough day. I'm so forgetful. I hate this, whatever's going on now. When you say positive things, your nervous system will be affected. And then your decision making will be affected upstream. And so when you make good decisions or bad decisions, bad communication, that communication affects our nervous system. Right? If you keep saying, I'm not good, I'm not good, I'm not good, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. If you do a muscle strength test on yourself, you will be weaker. So in the same way, if you are empowering, you're talking empowering language, communicating empoweringly, your strength would go up. So in gist, our language, the way we communicate with ourselves and others, will have an impact on the nervous system and will have an impact on our decision making. That's in gist what linguistics is all about. Can you understand how much more there is to learn? Now, then we come to the letter P, programming. What is this? You see, even before we're born, we're already programmed. Programmed by our father, mother. Their behaviors we inherit. Come into this world, we make decisions a certain way. We're programmed to react in a certain way to a situation. But not everybody will react the same, but you would react probably like your father and mother, with a little bit of variance. But the thing is, all this time, we have two kinds of programming. Good programming, bad programming. Good programming, take it into the future, no problem. But we've got a whole ton of bad programming. Procrastination, lack of confidence, anger, and doing things late. Not wanting to participate in things you are uncomfortable participating in. Dare not dream, no goals, always keeping things simple and low. Not willing to go beyond your own self to help somebody else, to make a significant contribution in this world. All this, most human beings are not considering it at all. So, well, let's talk about smoking. So simple. Smoking. That's a bad program. Right? So the thing is this, we are all creatures of habit. Human beings are creatures of habit. Our whole body system is like this. You do something once, you're going to do it again. You do something good thing once, you're going to do it again. Bad thing once, you're going to do it again. And so when you do it again, it becomes your habit and becomes your character and you become addicted. It could become your identity. Smoking can be an identity. Can you imagine that? And that's the reason why people don't quit, cannot quit beyond their death. That's crazy. So in NLP, the gift that we have right now with this is that when we model such people, there are processes. Processes. In psychology, we call it counseling. Well, counseling is a process too, I studied it. But in NLP, there are incisive processes where you jump into step number 1, you get out on step number 14, and you have a noticeable, legitimate shift in your nervous system. And immediately, there's something going on in your body, and you see the world differently. You react differently to the same situation. You're thrown in the same situation, your reaction is immediately different. Now, that's how charming these processes are. That's right. Quit smoking, walk in the park. Give you an example. A lady was plagued with a phobia for blood. When she sees blood, you can just talk about blood and she'll be gasping for breath. Can you imagine that? You talk about blood, she will be imagining something so crazy and she'll be gasping for breath. And in 45 minutes, this process was created by Richard Bandler, the phobia model, fast phobia model. Got it out. She suffered a traumatic experience when she was 6 years old, and she came to my class at 40 years old. A problem she had for 34 years of her life disappeared in 45 minutes. Now that's what the processes would do for you. So now we have this entire process called NLP, Neuro-Linguistics Programming. With this, these two guys, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, having founded it, have done all the research, and together with people like Robert Dale, Stat James, Connie Ray Andreas, and everybody that came after them, they have created a whole bunch of knowledge, a whole bunch of processes. And today, you and I can shorten the learning curve, our learning curve, and become who we want to be. Even if you're born here, you can make your way up there. You can become who you want to be in a fraction of the time it would take if you did not have NLP. Now, that is the privilege of